Hello, this is Kyle with Mr Marvell and Friends for episode 4, and I just want to thank everyone for watching my podcast so far. It's been a ton of fun. Been having some good guests, and today we have Louise, the nerdy archer.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me. You're right now.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me, Louise. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, how involved you're in the AC community, and what you've been up to recently?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Louise. I'm also known as the nerdy archer on the interwebs. I don't know why I keep doing the hand thing every time. I do it when I'm recording my podcast too, and nobody can see it.
Now they can.
Yay! Now you can see how much of a dork I am off and on camera. No, I also host an AC kind of semi-lore, here's a thing in Assassin's Creed that I kind of wrote podcast. And I'm also part of the Mentors Guild, which is sort of fun, and moderate the official Discord.
Brilliant.
And read all the books. And I'm basically a giant nerd. That's basically how I could describe myself. I'm Louise, I am a nerd.
There you go. There you go. And yeah, make sure you check Louise's stuff out. I'll put the links in the description, of course. Of course I will. So before we get into the sort of AC related stuff, you're sort of the biggest Nintendo fan I've had so far. So I've got to take this opportunity, because I love talking about Nintendo as well. I want to sort of ask you what your top 3 Switch games are, or top 3 Nintendo games.
I think, if we're talking Switch, I'm going to excuse all of the sports games that I bought for getting fit in lockdown, because that clearly did not happen. I used Ring Fit twice and gave up. One I've been playing a lot recently is Hades. I absolutely love it. Greek mythology, do not even get me started on if there is a game, if there is something that references Greek mythology, I'm down for it. And then that got Game of the Year awards and best acting and best soundtrack, and it's amazing. And then there was an indie one that I met the developers at a games convention in London in 2019 in the before times. It's called Yes, Your Grace. It's basically it's got an 8-bit style. It's sort of not like building simulator. You're a king in charge of a kingdom, and there's mythology, and it's just really good.
Nice.
It's not a very good selling pitch, but I promise you it's good.
Sounds great.
Yeah. 3. Just Pokemon. One of the first games that I properly fell in love with was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. So when they remastered Blue and Red for the Switch, I was like, yes, please. Finished in record time.
Oh, wicked. So that's interesting. So aside from Pokemon, you've not sort of played many of the typical Nintendo games, like the first party games. I
don't like Animal Crossing.
How dare you?
Controversial opinion, I don't like it.
How dare you? That's
I never
number
had
3.
it when I grew up. And then the world exploded when it came out on New Horizons came out the same day as Doom. And I like the memes, I like the music, but I just can't play it myself. It doesn't grab me.
Fair enough. Guess how long I've played it for. New Horizons.
I'm going to say several hundred hours.
Yeah, 600, I think. I've kind of stopped playing it now, though.
600?
Yeah, why not?
Oh.
There was a lockdown, all right.
Okay, fair. And to be fair, I probably have that amount of hours in Syndicate, the amount of time I just spend just roaming.
But yeah, that Animal Crossing probably would be 3rd. I'll just do mine quickly, for the fun of it. 3rd, yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons. 2nd, Zelda Breath of the Wild. And 1st, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's like JRPG.
I've played Zelda. I played The Legend of Zelda and stuff, but never played anything that's like a JRPG besides Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my top 3. I'm big into that sort of JRPGs, and when you go down the list, I've like Fire Emblem and stuff like that.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting.
But yeah, anyway, enough of that.
I'm more on like the story-driven ones, like Valiant Hearts and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that's. Actually, no, I've played that. I just didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You will need tissues when you finish Valiant Hearts. It is heartbreaking. Gorgeous, but heartbreaking. I'm warning you now.
Did you play Child of Light? Because I played that on the Switch.
I've played the demo. I haven't finished the game. I'm like partway through it.
I love that game.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Celeste a little bit, and like some of the like music and whatever. I don't know why, because they're not exactly the same game, but I get reminded of Celeste every single time.
Yeah, it's got a sort of a nice feel to it, hasn't it? I would say. And they're both sort of side scrollers. So yeah, I'll get that comparison. Good comparison. So yeah, now that's out of the way, we'll get to the Assassin's Creed stuff. So I was interested in your thoughts on Valhalla, actually, like overall as it stands. Obviously the DLCs haven't come out yet, but what's your take on Valhalla?
I kind of really liked it, but not as much as I have other titles. Like, one of the major criticisms I've seen from the game is that it's way too long.
Yeah.
Like, I've never received burnout from a game before, and Valhalla gave me burnout. I got it the day it was released because I pre-ordered the game. And then within maybe like 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm 2/3 of the way through main story. We have Sigurd now. We have Sigurd back. I just don't want to do it anymore. And I went and replayed like the entire Ezio trilogy. And it took me until January, post-Christmas, to pick it up again because of like the Yule Festival and then Ostara, because I really wanted Eivor and a flower crown, guys. That is one way to get me back in.
Yeah, I hear you with the length. That's my main criticism of the game. It just felt like there was so much filler, and there was some good storytelling in there, some good characters.
There's some really nice like side quests and stuff and like mysteries, but it's the same problem I had with The Witcher 3, is that once you give it too much to do, then it's that blinding of your decisions of, oh my God, where do I go next? That just kind of, instead of moving forward, you are at a standstill, and then people don't want to continue.
Yeah, and it didn't help for me that there was the hidden one stuff was kind of put to one side a bit. For an 80 game that's that long, it was.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more with Hytham and to like learn a bit more about him, because we learn a bit about other Ravensthorpe inhabitants and stuff, and like you've got your bakers, you've got Ranvi's romance side quest, which I did. And Ranvi a thing for me. Sorry, Sigurd, but it's happened. Accept it. But
it's all about Petra for me.
Really? I think they're the main two that people have chosen. Like, if you don't go for Ranvi, you go for Petra.
I just found it more natural. I've done a video on this actually. I just felt that Petra just seemed like a civilian, and then you sort of have a couple of missions to grow to like her. Whereas Ranvi, I sort of felt from the start it was obvious she was going to be a romance option.
Oh yeah, obvious. I see what you mean actually by that. That it's kind of coded.
Yeah. Not
coded in the way that like you're expecting, but like there's subtle hints that they like it's an arranged marriage between her and Sigurd, but there could be something else there.
Exactly. I'm interested in your thoughts on the sort of the Asgard and Jotunheim parts, because that's got a lot of criticism as well.
Yeah, which is a shame because I really enjoy the mythology stuff. So like when we had the Fate of Atlantis DLC, I was like, yes, okay, this is my thing. And I think anyone who watched like the podcast that I recorded before this coming on here, I did a load on like the Isu and Sages, and like I made a hypothetical build one. I just really like the mythology aspect, and like being able to walk around Asgard and like flight with a squirrel that walks up and down Yggdrasil is, I just really enjoyed it, and it was fun, and I liked trying to guess who all the sages were based on the voices and stuff, and I got half of them. Thor I didn't get until I found out on the wiki and people elsewhere figured it out, which is but in the same vein, like the anomalies, the 10 anomalies that are around the map, using the mythology to kind of figure that out. I figured it out after like the third one because there was a reference to Boulder, and then kind of
yeah that stuff was
like
cool.
the mythology.
Yeah.
I know people aren't going to like that because it's like, I know people have issues with it, but I just really like it.
Nice. So what we alluded to the length, but what about the sort of these two things come in hand actually, the size of the map? What do you make of that?
It's not one map anymore. It's like technically 4 different maps, will be 6 with the 2 DLC. I do think it's a bit too large, even if you split it up between like Vinland, England, Ireland, France, Asgard, and the Norway. Can't believe we forgot Norway. It just feels too big. Like, I know how in like the Ezio games you had different settlements and like different smaller maps depending on the city you went in, which I thought was a nice touch, and I thought that's how it sort of might feel going into Valhalla, but it just feels like you're entering a completely different game at times because there's this brand new like massive expanse to explore, all these things to collect. In Vinland, you can't even access your own weapons. You have to have region-specific items. It takes forever, and especially when you're like trying to get 100% completion and clear the maps and stuff, and all those sweet photo mode opportunities. It just takes forever, and I think it could have been a bit smaller. As much as I would have wanted like Cornwall to turn up, because one of my like pre-game thoughts was that maybe they'd have Cornwall just tacked on the end, so you could go and visit Tintagel, and that's where Excalibur might be. I mean, it's not; it's under Stonehenge, but because like it's King Arthur's myth, that's surely where it'd be, right? No.
I agree. I think it was too big. Because one thing a lot of people have said as well, I didn't even know where I was. There was no sort of buildings or things like landmarks to see where I was. Whereas, say Origins, you can see the pyramids, you can see the lighthouse of Alexandria, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just got lost, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
Not in a good way.
I feel like I'm quite lucky when Eivor and the later Ravensthorpe inhabitants first arrive in England. They arrive in the Midlands, and I grew up in the Midlands. Like Tamworth Castle was a trip I used to take as a kid. So early in game, I knew where I was. But as we expanded back to like the north in Nottingham and York, I had no idea where I was going. I didn't even realize we were on St. Paul's and that massive dramatic fire, like what will become St. Paul's Cathedral, until I looked it up and looked at the codex and was like, oh, okay, I should be more concerned.
Yeah, exactly. And you alluded to Vinland earlier. Yeah. What was your favourite art? Because mine probably was either London or Vinland, I must admit.
Oh, I really like London's. I do also really like London's. I'm also a sucker for the Mercia arc, again, because I grew up in what is now Mercia, or what was then Mercia.
Cool.
But I also like the mission where you go and rescue Sigurd. I think one of my biggest moments, at least in like before the end of the game, was that mission where you go and find Sigurd, because As much as I love Volkay as a villain, I hate her. I hate her as a person. She is a good, bad villain. And I've said it before, I said it again. That mission, that like segment when you go to fight her is the most frustrating thing. And I don't think I've sworn so much in an AC game as I have at that moment because I was just so angry. And at the same time, Abel took no damage. In the gameplay that, in like the playthrough I did the first time, you know how it's in the dark and like it's trying to trick you and you've got to chase her. I took no damage throughout all of that because it was like berserker rage for me and her. It was the funniest thing.
Oh, cool. So you enjoyed that one?
I did.
Enjoyed that one?
It was kind of cathartic.
That was probably the coolest sort of confession as well, with Sigurd as like a giant. That was quite cool. Yeah. But yeah, for me, it is London and Finland. Just because the nostalgia in the Finland one, really.
Yeah. I like the little nods to 3 that they added in, like with the cave and some of the music.
Yeah.
That was quite a nice touch.
Yeah, it was. It was. And then didn't Eivor say it's not for her, like sort of like Ezio did? Yeah. This is not for me, I think.
Giving the apple back that is heavily implied to be the one that Connor has in 3. Yeah. It's quite nice.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that sort of stuff in the game.
Yeah.
But it kind of got lost in because of how big the game was.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. Yeah.
It's like also like little Easter eggs to not just AC content in the game too, but were quite nice. I think the funniest one that I found was, I think it's in Southwark, where you're just walking around and all of a sudden you hear someone screaming Fenton. Like that 2010, 2009 internet storm video of the guide dog chasing sheep in the park, everyone. It's in Valhalla.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. Well, I think we'll move on from Valhalla now and go to the next topic. You are big on your history and whatnot. So just want to ask, what's your favourite setting that's been in Assassin's Creed so far?
How much time have we got?
I don't know, 25, 30 minutes?
That'll be enough. Because like everyone always asks me this. It's like one of those things where you rank the AC games, or you rank your favorite protagonist or outfit or favorite piece of Eden or weapon build. It's just, it can depend on the day. And there's always like pros and cons for both. And like I always say that I love Syndicate because A, it was like the first game I ever fell in love with, and B, I'm basically Evie at this point. Just not a twin, but I don't know. The truth answer is I don't know. I think every setting has had something for me that draws me in, whether it's like the escape from Lisbon in Rogue, whether it's meeting like Anne Bonny and Mary Read in Black Flag, whether it's, Leonardo da Vinci, whether it's, like all this stuff that you learn about and then you learn about in more detail, and the pyramids are so pretty. I don't know. I feel like fun. In 10 minutes my answer will change, but my gut instinct is leaning towards Unity or Odyssey, like the unbeloved champions at the moment, but they are like my favorite settings.
Oh yeah, and what stands out for them?
I think for Odyssey, it's just like the world building and like how expansive it is and how much reconstruction has been done. Like you have statues that are covered in art and color and things you probably wouldn't know unless you were looking at it from an archaeology perspective, because I'm an archaeology student and I can appreciate that. And then Unity, it was the first game I played, or the first game I remember playing, and I just really like how it dips in and out of like the time anomalies, and like even then like Revolutionary Paris with the things that just randomly kick off, or just little pieces of world building that you can see that just kind of enraptured me a bit more than some of the other titles. Like As much as I love learning about the Crusades, AC1 doesn't do it to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alti, but it's true. And then
Yeah.
the same way, it's the same reason with like Black Flag. As much as I love it, I'm a terrible pirate. Like so much sailing may turn me away from a game. And then like the American Revolution is something I was never taught about as a kid. Like it's just something that was a thing that happened. It's a footnote in like the history that I learned because it's England. It's like, oh, this is something we lost. We're just gonna look over here. But it was really exciting to look and explore, and I really like Lafayette, and now I like it more because of Hamilton. I'm just gonna say that now. Hamilton has done a lot to redeem 3 for me. And the tyranny of King Washington was fun.
Oh, cool.
Sure loads of people are going to contradict and say that they disagree with me, but that's fine. I don't care. Unity's fun.
Yeah. Screw them. Screw them.
Yeah, Unity obviously is good.
Actually, you say Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Athens like a week after Odyssey. I just booked it in advance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was just walking around Athens listening to the soundtrack of Odyssey. It was pretty good. It's pretty cool.
Did you go to like the Acropolis and stuff?
Yeah. I went. Yeah, pretty much every sort of landmark in Athens I went to.
That's really sweet.
It was pretty special. It was.
I went to Athens about 2016. So in that interim period between when they revamped it all, between Syndicate and Origins. So I wonder how different it'll feel going back.
Yeah.
And being able to do that, because I did that when the first time I visited London was after Syndicate came out. So I had the soundtrack on, and now every time I visit London, I have like Bloodlines queued up so it starts right as I get off the train. I am that level of nerd, guys.
That's cool. That's cool. So you went to Athens as well then?
Yeah, I had a trip for my university degree.
Oh, wicked. So, it's amazing, isn't it? It's like...
I'd love to go back.
Yeah, like it's...
When we can travel again. Yeah, I got serious like Wanderlust the other night. I was like looking through all the games and like, I want to visit this place. I want to go back to Delphi. I want to see Rome, and I got slightly sad for a moment. But also like I now, because of these games, have like a myriad of new places where I can visit, which is quite nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe we'll be able to travel. I reckon next year. A lot of people want to go on holiday this year, but I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not. Yeah, maybe next year.
I can risk it, but next year, hopefully.
Yeah, the last place I want to be on is a plane with people coughing around me. I don't want that. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, what would you want to see going forward? What sort of settings and eras?
Again, this is also one that like changes. I think it was this Rhino the Bouncer mentioned literally yesterday about maybe having Mesopotamia as a setting, which I'm quite intrigued by. I would really like to see that. But I also want to visit a game, basically have like another version of the Ezio trilogy where we visit a character more than once. Like,
that would be nice.
Yeah, because I know like Syndicate has times where it feels like that, because then you've got the Jack the Ripper DLC, and then you've got the World War One segment with his granddaughter Lydia. But like, can we have a full game with Lydia, please? I will happily write it if you want.
Go for it. Bit of fanfic.
But maybe a game that isn't set in Europe for the next one, because we've had so many games that are like in Europe, or like they visit Europe at some point, that maybe somewhere Australia, New Zealand before colonization or something, or like South America.
Yeah.
An Argentinian game, a Brazil game would be quite cool.
Yeah, I've sort of said South America for a few years.
The jungle would be quite a good dynamic, having it in the Amazon or something.
Yeah, so the parkour sort of like in Black Flag in the jungle, because you
Yeah.
need parkour somehow, don't you?
You could swing on vines like Tarzan. That'd be quite
Oh
fun.
yes, yeah. I think that South America, because we've not seen anything in South America,
Yeah.
really, have we?
Besides, like, didn't Desmond visit once in one of the moments? But it's never been a full setting
That's
of the
true,
game. That
actually.
was so
Yeah.
fun.
What was that, like a wrestling match or boxing match or something? What?
Yeah, it was like an MMA fight or
Yeah,
something happening in the background.
yeah. Thought that might have been a teaser for a future game, but obviously not.
No.
He just gets on the train or the tube, and that's it. He's
Yeah.
out of there. Yeah, South America could be good, like you say.
You've also got like the Altair 2 crew on a ship. So it's not necessarily that if you did modern day segments, you could do multiple games in locations.
Yeah.
Kind of like Layla, but with the crew on the boat.
Yeah, that's it. It was weird with Layla because she was always in a different place.
Mm.
But then, I don't know why weren't she? She was in London for Odyssey, but why?
Yeah, the beginning bit was at Odyssey in London. I think she was in like a disused building opposite the Houses of Parliament. I don't know why that specific building is ringing to me.
Yeah,
Because you could see, like, you could clearly tell it was London because there was like a London landmark outside the window and the Thames.
yeah. Got to parkour across it like in Syndicate.
Oh God, just don't fall in. God, do not fall in.
Do you know what I thought in Syndicate? You should have, like in Rogue where you get freezing if you go in the water.
Oh.
I thought you should have got a bit like ill from the Thames because there's so much pollution in it. What's that about? There was none.
That'd be quite an interesting dynamic to add in though. Like your health goes down a little bit or is reduced for a certain amount of time because of like the environmental factors. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
Because that happens with Eivor, doesn't it, in Valhalla? Like, if you're in frozen water for too long, it looks like they're freezing.
Yeah.
That'd be quite cool.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I reckon. Missed opportunity. So yeah, is there anything else? Because you were saying Australia and New Zealand, but sort of where would the parkour be if you're going there in the early years of colonisation? Like, that's the trouble.
Yeah, probably. And then you've got the problem of landmarks as well, because you've got Uluru, but it's a sacred site, and traveling up that and walking on it is a big no-no.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they would be disrespectful enough to have it as like, oh, you can walk on this at any time. And especially now that I think that the Australian government has said that you can't do that even as a tourist now. Unless it's like holy days, I think they can't go up. And then at least New Zealand has volcanoes. And there could be references to Middle Earth there, who knows?
Yeah. Dive into a volcano. See how that works out.
Into a volcano. If it's a ring, who knows?
There'll be like a one-eyed monster there. What they call
Cyclops.
What's that?
Cyclops.
Cyclops. I can't believe I forgot that. Why did I say one-eyed monster?
Don't worry,
moving on. So yeah, I would like South America, but I think I said this in the last podcast. I just want proper parkour, proper stealth, and Assassin and Templars back. That's my main.
Yeah.
That's my list, and then shorter. I want the games to be shorter.
Would you want a game with someone who's an established assassin, or would you want someone who, like, is starting off but grew up in the Brotherhood? Because that is one thing that I mentioned, I think, to the Hookblade podcast when I had a quick chat with them about Syndicate. Like, the twins grew up with knowing the Creed, at least from when they were 6 years old, if not earlier, depending on if Cecily was also in it. There's like such a missed opportunity to like develop how you grow up with the Creed in that way that we didn't see with Ezio because he didn't know. Would you want to see that in a future game?
Yeah, I think so. Although I wouldn't mind it either way because I just want an assassin at this point. Oh, yeah, I'd be happy either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Or
would.
both.
Yeah, yeah. Well, span the whole. Well, Ezio was from a baby to
That's
death. You
very
saw
true.
his,
Literally saw birth to death,
yeah,
quite
birth to death. That's it. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd like to see that again across many games,
literally.
but I just can't see it. Like, although one thing I wanted from Valhalla was Eivor sort of seeing both sides of both factions.
Yeah,
It didn't quite deliver on what on
yeah,
that, did it? So I
not
wouldn't
really.
mind. I wouldn't mind it if it was say like Black Flag again.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree.
you
I
know,
think there's one thing that now that you mentioned like, dynamics and stuff, having a Templar defect the assassins, because we've seen it the other way around, I think would be
yes,
quite interesting, even if not like main character, maybe like a romance or side character or an NPC, someone who's pivotal, but like we see part of it through their eyes and them coming to like relearn the creed and be like, oh, we might not be different, but we have different approaches and like different ultimate ideals.
yeah, that would be cool because I guess Layla kind of did that, but it's not
She
expanded
was,
upon.
yeah,
It's
and
not
she
really,
wasn't exactly a
yeah.
full assassin either.
No, she wasn't a full
And it's
Templar
like
or a full assassin, really, was she?
because the only one I can think who did that was Maria, and that was back in the very first game, like Maria Thorpe.
Yeah, yeah, but that's 14 years ago now.
Yeah, 2007. Oh my, it'd be something to bring back, and then you can even like reference it in universe, like, oh, it's not unheard of. Like Maria was good, and have like that dynamic of, will she be like that? Will this person be like Maria, or will this person be a spy, or are they actually devotional?
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. So are you're on sort of my boat? You want them to be shorter, or
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, because I just love a nice, short, concise story. Like Black Flag does it perfectly. Where I really care about all the characters, even though it's a short game.
Yeah, yeah, because the length of the time that you play can be exploring and going through side quests, or being what I do and picking up every collectible and looking through all the database entries and every single newspaper article in London, and like you make the length of the game a little bit longer because you go through different things. And I know there's some people that out there who don't like that and they just want to go through the main story and be done with it, which is fair enough. Like some people don't want to spend like 100+ hours trying to rescue Sigurd. Some people want to do
Yeah,
it in like 40 or less.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I hope so. So, what's your sort of main wishes for the next game? Not the setting, sort of gameplay elements and story elements.
I want a female protagonist.
Oh yeah,
Like, I'm really glad we got the option of female able this time. But I want a game where we have solely like a woman in charge. Um, the idea of having an Aya game, or going back to her during the reign of like the end of Caesar and Augustus, it would be quite good. But maybe a female assassin we've never actually seen, or a female Templar that does the bait and switch,
yeah,
and then switch like the reverse Haytham, basically, where it looks like they're on the Templar side, but surprise, they're now an assassin.
that would be cool.
I would like something, yeah. Dramatic reveals like that are so much fun. I think I would like, I really like the modern day. I know some people again don't, but I would like when there is modern days for there to be a reason. Because with Valhalla, it felt very, or at least in some of the later ones, it felt very tacked on. Like there was no reason for it to keep dipping out into the modern day. I would want like it to have maybe something like with the Ezio games where there was its own little separate arc. Maybe not the world ending. Maybe like something to do with Simon Hathaway, who's the head of the historical research division, or Sophia Rykin bringing in the films, and little nod to Callum Lynch or something. Just building on something with the going forward, but also bringing in stuff that they just sort of left empty, like I think would be quite nice, and filling in gaps at the same time as trying to tell a new fun story.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. What about the sort of gameplay elements? Would you like to see sort of Unity-esque parkour, or would you
Yes.
want? Oh yeah.
Unity's is my favorite parkour, I think, especially when you consider Valhalla is so heavy. Like it felt so clunky to me. To be fair, Eivor isn't a natural free runner. You don't even get the leap of faith until you get taught it. But I want the free running like there was in Unity, which will depend on like building height and, you know, like street width, which was a problem they had in Syndicate, which is like why they brought in the hook, not the hook blade, the rope launcher.
I still can't believe that. I know you like Syndicate, but I think that's ridiculous.
I agree. Like, it's okay. At least you have the option not to use it from the moment that you get it. Like, there's just that mission with Alec, and then that's it. It's like, it's semi-optional, so I'm gonna not use it for this run. But good parkour, good actual stealth would be quite nice. And like environmental blending. Valhalla tried. I don't think it did it very well, especially considering most of the time going through stealth areas and like where you have to be incognito and quiet. It's just easier to kill the guards and just run through.
Yeah, that's what I did every time.
Yeah, it's just saved you so much time. Even if health doesn't regenerate, it's just like, well, it's easier and quicker, and I've got places to be. This game's long enough as it is.
Yeah, they need to improve on the stealth a lot.
Yeah.
I think I said this to Locus on my first episode. It's because the world's so massive now. You can't really do proper parkour and stealth in these massive worlds.
Yeah.
You can't nail it.
I'd rather have something smaller and taller than I would wide and flat. Like,
yeah,
a jungle setting would be good for that, because you could just maybe make the jungle a little bit more condensed, but you could, all the parkour of going up to the treetops would be such an interesting experience. Like, they've done it with the Arctic in Rogue, and that was one of my favorite, like, slightly twists on parkour, going through that bit of Shay. But just revitalize it and bring back the stuff people like with parkour would be quite good.
Yeah, and do you reckon there'll be a return to that sort of stuff, or can you see it being the same? My prediction is that it's still going to be an RPG. Maybe in Japan they'll do it, because a lot of people wanted Japan, feudal Japan. I think it might be there. I don't know anything, but
I would quite like a Japan game. I can see that happening, because we've got that novel coming out, haven't we? The one that's set at the end of the Tokugawa shogunate in '68. That would be like, if you made that into a game and had like parkour through that would be make a very interesting way to bring back the old dynamic of it. But I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I do worry that they're going to just. Well, I don't worry. I think they're going to stay with the RPG setting, but I don't know how much I want that. I'm kind of tired of RPGs at this point.
Yeah, same. We'll see. Who knows? My fingers are crossed. But yeah, unless you've got anything to add, I think we might wrap it up.
Yeah, so, all I got.
Yeah, all good. So yeah, thanks for coming today. You've been a great guest, Louise.
Thanks for having me on.
It's really good to see you. Yeah, that's all good. That's all right. So I'll put the links in the description for all your sort of your Twitter, your YouTube and stuff. And yeah, thanks for joining me. For episode 4. It's been a blast. Yeah, everyone, if you could like and subscribe to myself and Louise at The Nerdy Archer, that would be great. She knows her stuff. She sure does.
Or at least pretend to. There's a difference.
Oh, you do. But yeah, it's been a ton of fun. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you soon. See ya.